So my beautiful little angel best friend died the other day due to my negligence. I was not keeping him close enough to me and making sure he was safe from cars. A bus squeaked its brakes, school bus, and he decided he was going to be brave and attack this bus that was making squeaky noises and threatening him. And jumped out right at it, and he got hit. And I think he would have survived the first hit, and I think he was okay, even maybe. But then the back tire, which is where the engine and the axle is connected to, hit him, and I couldn't stop the bus driver, and I didn't react fast enough. And Shadow just sort of panicked, and it all happened. And it's like if Shadow had been, you know, not so close to the road, it would have been he would have been fine. And it was just all these weird things like if I had been 10 feet sooner, or even 2 feet sooner, or 2 feet later, it wouldn't have been an issue. And if the brakes hadn't squeaked like that, it wouldn't have been an issue. If it had not been a bus at all. So this poor little guy lost his life, but he had a soul. I don't think people knew about his soul, because he just had a wonderful heart, and he was really trying. And I don't think people knew him as well as I did, and he was just just trying to cope, and he was trying to learn things, and he wanted to learn things. And I'll tell you, and he loved to run around in the park, and he run up and down, and he just loved his daily walk, and he couldn't get enough of that daily walk. I'm telling you, man, it was like his favorite thing. And you know, and ice cream after that. But I think if you gave him a choice, he would have chose the walk because he just loved it. And it's the only thing I could do to make him happy and relax him and whatever. And he was a sweetheart. And he was coming along so well. I mean, he was kind of a vicious dog, and he didn't trust anybody, and he bit everybody, and maybe he had a reason to not trust people and stuff, but we got past it, and he never bit me. And and I could do everything. I could pet him and pick him up and swing him around and play with him and tease him. And he was just getting gentler and kinder and more loving all the time. And I think that's why he jumped in front of the bus, because he was getting like very confident, and he was getting more and more protective of me, whatever the situation. And I think he instantly regretted it. And the look on his face after, uh, and then of course he was dead after that second one. And I miss him. And I think I had dreams warning me about it, and I didn't heed them, and I didn't understand them. But I was crying Shadow's name, and but I didn't know what it meant at the time. I thought it was about because I lost him, not because he died. Maybe it was that was it, and I think I would have been more careful had I known that. and I was more confused about it. And he changed a lot of things for me, and I was very happy to have him as a friend, and I was learning how to communicate with him, and I was learning his his tells and what he wanted, so when he wanted food, when he wanted water, when he wanted to go outside, you know and I could get him happy in an instant just by saying, let's go for a walk, and he would just get excited. And I let him down. I failed him. This poor little guy. And he was just a sweetheart. He was an angel. Oh, he really was. And he still had lots of life left in him. And, he was afraid of dogs, and he was, getting used to it though, and he was getting used to people. So I did really well. I could get him to go up to people, and I could say, "You want to go say hi? You want to say hi?" And he would go up and meet them, and whereas before that would never happen. You couldn't go near him, you couldn't pet him, that's for sure. He wouldn't trust anyone to pet him, and then I got that. I got past that, and then he loved it. He demanded pets from me all the time. So I guess it's my fault, but when uh, when he got used to it, he got used to it, and then he wanted me to pet him all the time, and he was very loyal. He was very loyal to me, you know, and I appreciated that, his loyalty. And when he thought I betrayed him, he was expressive about it, and he would give me this look, you know. But I mean, I wasn't betraying him, but he would just see it that way, and you know, especially if I let someone else take him out for a walk or outside, he would see that as betrayal, and but that's okay because it's short lived, and he was very forgiving, and he forgave me a lot in the early stages, but I have to discipline him a bit, and but he got over it quickly, and and I was gentle with him. I didn't get upset or anything like that. I just created the pattern. It's like basically they had to go out every 4 hours. So if you didn't want your dog, you know, messing up all your stuff, you take him out every 4 hours. And then he just got used to it. And then he got used to going outside. He used to be weird about it, and he didn't want to go in front of me. And he was holding for the longest time, he would hold his poops. you know, I don't know what was going on with that, but but then he got used to it, and I'd praise him, and I'd tell him what a good dog he was, and boom, and then it just started. And then he started pooping normal, and it was hard to get him to go on the leash while I was holding the leash, but we were getting there. That was the next challenge. I got him to stop biting people. I got him to start going to the bathroom outside. I got him to, you know, let me know he needed to go outside. And now he was getting used to, telling me he was hungry and asking for food and water. And I just had to figure that out a bit. And it took a couple, it took a while, but like him using his paw to get my attention was him telling me he wanted food or water. Him sitting in front of me and looking at me was him telling me he needed to go outside. So he had two different ways to express himself. And the calm way was the way to go outside, and the urgency was he needed to fill his belly, which to me, I guess it would be backwards, but because when you gotta go, right? It seems more urgent sometimes than. But anyways, we were getting there. He was my best friend. He really grew into my best friend, and I wish I kept him alive. I wish I did a better job. I wanted to give him more. I had plans for him. You know, I wanted to get a better place so that I could take care of him. You know, and that we could just, grow old together and do whatever. And I was thinking about getting back into running again, and he needed, he needs, he needed lots of exercise. He needed to run, like basically he could do about 5 to 10 kilometers a day. Every day, I think that's where I had him up to. So, and it still wasn't enough. But I know like he was doing sprints and sprints and sprints. So I would walk and then he would sniff something and then catch up to me and he'd run like he'd be doing like 50 meter dashes all the time trying to catch up to me. And then I could take him to the park and on the trails where it was safe for him to be off a leash like that. And it was really good. It was a good routine. I was getting tired, but I was gonna figure that out. I should have, because he was he was tiring me out. Because there's a lot, so much going on with him. He needs those. He needed a lot of exercise, and he liked walking all the time. He could have done probably 3 5 kilometer walks a day. I bet. So sometimes I'd have to rest for a couple days, and he'd get all antsy. After a day or two, he'd be fucking antsy as fuck. He was, he's a sweet dog. He was a chicken dog, and I mean, he died being brave, but a lot of times he was a chicken dog, but he'd always run up, and I think he wanted to commune with a lot of other dogs more so. And he used to bully Harley quite a bit, but that calmed down a lot, and he was getting nicer and nicer all the time, and he would listen to me, constantly, and I could say come, and he'd come, you know, and it, once he knew that he wasn't going to get hurt or anything like that, he trusted me, and I seen the trust grow, and he would stay when we crossed the street. He would stay, and on the walk path. And I'm gonna miss doing those walks. I'm gonna miss like doing the down Domney Creek and up there, and then taking him up with me down the Mohawk Lake area. I don't know what that trail is. I'll have to, maybe it'll tell me. But I'm gonna miss all that. And I don't really feel like getting another dog because it just feels disrespectful, you know, to, do that. I don't know. Because I don't want it to seem like he's disposable and, oh, we can just replace him in like a heartbeat. I hadn't had my own dog since I was like 5, you know, and okay. I don't know, it's Greenwich Street Trail, I guess is maybe there's a better name for it somewhere, but oh, Shallow Creek Trail, which may be where I'll place him. I don't know. I don't really like the canal down there, but I definitely walked him a lot down there, so it might be an appropriate place for him. Anyways, it's on me. I failed him. I should have been able to take him, several more years. And I had so many plans, and we were gonna, you know, find a nice place to live and do whatever people do. I was hoping he'd have some freedom. I certainly didn't think it would end like this, and I certainly didn't think it would end this soon. I thought I had him for a long time, and I guess that's just not how it is sometimes. You make, and even the best of people can make mistakes or things happen that you're just not prepared for, and it's not even a mistake, just a circumstance, you know, that was unavoidable, and you know, anyways. But if I had had him on the short leash, or if I had taken the other path home, all these things I was thinking of doing. And if the bus had been, if I had like just a 2 minutes difference, even a minute, 30 seconds difference, of timing, and it wouldn't have, nothing would have happened. He would have been safe and happy, and so I guess he died there on Clarence Street, coming around the bend. So there's a line of trees there, and there used to be a gas station, and it was just past the green box there, and the bus, because there's a turn there, the bus would have to hit its brakes to make the turn, and I think that's basically set the dog off, and yeah, and then he just decided to attack a bus for no reason, no clear reason, and yeah, my poor little angel. I don't know. So Clarence and Colburn, you just go down. There's no number there, but it's basically right where the tree line starts, and it's that pole where there used. I don't know if there's a bus stop there or not, but there was a bus stop there, just past the green box there, right at the tree line, right where the tree line starts. So I don't know if that's people are aware of that, but that's what happened. And I could have went the other way. I was thinking about going, you know, through the other path, and because there's another path I could have took, or go on the sidewalk, but the sidewalk was clear. It was just so weird how many things went into, that moment. And you know, fuck. Anyways, I wish he was with me, and I have dreams about him. And in the dreams, some of them, he was really happy, and everybody was rubbing his belly, and he was really happy. And in other dreams, he's alone, and I go to comfort him and be with him, so he's not alone. And I don't know if there's an afterworld or another plane after this existence, but I hope he's there. I hope I can go see him, and I can walk him, take care of him. Surely do a better job this time. I can't imagine another dog, at this point. It just seems like I would be betraying him, you know, and, dishonoring his memory. That's just all these weird things. And I'm still like bargaining in my head, and, you know, I'm still kind of in shock. So I got all these, I got the list. Have I got to acceptance? I don't think so, but it's definitely a lot of grief. It's a lot of sadness. You know, I, his presence is missed. And he's just not here anymore, and I don't have to do anything for him, and I don't have to worry about feeding him, and you know, I don't have to walk home or anything. He's just not here. He's not here tormenting the other dog or anything. And it's no fault of his own. Well, I don't know. I mean, like, dogs don't understand, things like vehicles. He kind of didn't understand how to get out of the way of things, which is kind of crazy because I'd be on the trails and people would be riding their bikes and or driving their little scooters, their little wheelchair scooters, and you kind of wouldn't get it sometimes, or it didn't. It seemed like he didn't understand the idea or the concept of like getting out of the way. Even though he did get out of the way, it was just kind of like last second, and it was like, whoa. And he would bark at it and stuff, and then, but he was getting there. He was getting smarter all the time, and he was getting well trained. So, and I was putting the time in. So, and he had, you know, and I don't know what I want to do with him. I don't know where I want to put him. And I have put him at Domney Creek, but I don't like it down there where he is. And I have to move him again. And, uh, yeah, Takeout Point is what it is. You can actually boat launch down there. It's a boat launch. That I didn't realize. And I used to do Domney Trail with him all the time, so I don't know if there's a better spot along Domney Trail or not, but I don't like where he is right now. And the river's kind of frozen in a lot of spots. And I don't really have a lot of money to get him cremated. And I don't really like the idea of cremating him. And it sounds awful, but I kind of want to have nature deal with him, you know, which is awful. I know. That's probably why we have all these things like burials and cremation and stuff. But I'm not into you know. But I get how you know, animals ravaging and insects and whatever, but that's back to the earth, you know, and that's kind of my style or my thinking. Even it's just the way, because nature designed it that way, so why wouldn't we do it that way? But and I know it probably originally buried people because they, you know, a few reasons. One, you know, one you know, we would stink after a year, you know, enough time. It would be terrible. That process takes, you know, a week or two or more, I guess. I don't know. And during that time, it would smell horrible. So you can't just have dead bodies everywhere. And you know, the thought of your relative being devoured by insects and other animals and whatever is obviously horrible. So there's just, you know, and you want like a place where you can visit them and, you know, but I don't know, that seems weird to me. Although I believe in the idea of having a place to visit them, I just find the idea of their body being preserved for all of time in some location where it hasn't gone back to the earth and the world and whatever, you know. But he's my beautiful angel, you know. I guess. And I wish everyone got to know him like as well as I did, and they could see what an angel he was and was becoming. And you know, but that's on me because I failed him. And if anyone says anything, you can blame me because it's my fault. I was too close to the road and I just was not. I was thinking about other things, you know, other than the fucking dense traffic that was happening at that time of day. So, you know, it was my mother's birthday was the day after and I was thinking about what I should be doing with her, you know, to honor her. And now I got to deal with this dog dying the day before her birthday every year now. And me being the fucking idiot that fucked it up. You know, and I could have just went around. I was even looking at the path to go around, and I was thinking I should go that way. But it was like all icy, and I was like, "Oh, I don't want him to walk on all the ice like that." Even though it didn't really bother him, the snow didn't bother him, the cold didn't bother him as long as he was moving. So what actually did bother him was the salt, you know. But they had scraped the sidewalk, so the sidewalk was clear, and I was like, "Oh well." And he kind of jumped on the sidewalk, and I was sort of like, all right, well, let's just go this way. Certainly regret that. Although I couldn't have seen the future like I did there. You know, like to know that I was going to walk into a bus coming around at that exact spot where it was the danger zone. Like, I'm telling you, if I had been like a couple feet one way or the other, it wouldn't have mattered. Because I had to turn the bend, you know, and or I would have been ready for the bus one way or the other, because it wouldn't have, he wouldn't have got hit. I don't know. Yeah, and there were so many places I wanted to take him. In fact, one of my dreams was to get like a motorhome and just tour, you know, a lot of Canada. I don't know where yet, but it would have been nice to go down east and, you know, run all along the coastline, watching the coast, you know, parking like that, maybe even driving across the country would have been nice. There's a couple, so there's some roads We could go up past, yeah, Algonquin all the way to Winnipeg, to Calgary, Edmonton, one or the other. I could go, yeah, so you could go to Edmonton, or you could do it the other way around. So you somehow get into Vancouver. And then, yeah, on my way back, is there a road up there? Doesn't look like there's a road there. Doesn't look like there's any roads there. Oh no, there's a road. So then I could go into Vancouver, then up to, you know, Prince George or something like that, or if there's a way to go down the coast here. I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's very developed here. Never knew that about British Columbia. Anyways, so I'd see that, and then wherever I could hit, maybe if there's some like cool spots, I would have done that. And then back maybe to Edmonton, and then back to, yeah, back to Winnipeg, back to, Thunder Bay, and then maybe Manitoulin Island, because I've not been there before, but I could go there. Although I've been all around Manitoulin Island, like I've been a Spanola, I've been Elliott Lake, I've been, I'm not sure if I've been to Sault Ste. Marie, but I would go there maybe on the way back. And so Whitefish, Sudbury, yeah, I've been all around there for various reasons. And, like Honey Harbor and stuff like that. But I've never actually been to Manitoulin Island, which seems actually a lot more. There's a lot of little lakes in Manitoulin Island as well. Not sure if I've been to Whitefish or not, but I've been to Espanola, I've been to Massey, yeah, Cutler, Spanish. So we went up to Elliott Lake. Where else did I? Where is Killarney? Hmm, not sure. Port Depot, Bedford Island. Huh. Not sure why I don't know where the harbor is. Anyways, not important right now. It's not coming up. Sure, I could find it if I searched it. And yeah, Sudbury, I don't know. Yeah, Sudbury's kind of awful. I didn't mind North Bay. Kirkland Lake, yeah, Timmins, Matheson. But anyways, I'd probably go North Bay, back to Ottawa. Might visit my uncle, I'm not sure. He's in Carleton Place, I believe. But I did want to see like, so New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island. I like to tour around there. So that would be nice. Spend a summer kind of touring around there, with the dog. That would have been great. Finding spots to camp and go for nice little hikes. I don't think there's anything. I'm not sure what's in Newfoundland, but it's a shame that I haven't seen as much of Canada as I had should have, because being born here, I've seen more of other countries that I was not born in because I was a tourist. So I don't know. Canada's mostly it's a lot of rocks, trees, and lakes, which is nice. I mean, that's what we got a lot of stuff here, but there are no highways. There's very few highways to connect everything, and yeah, and it's not like you can just get to Hudson Bay as easy as you like. you would need helicopters and stuff like that, or boats or whatever. And that water's fucking cold, I'm sure. Even though there's a lot of stuff out there, Fort Severn, yeah, York Factory, which I don't even know what that is, Churchill, North River. Anyways, I would just keep it to the simple stuff. And yeah, so there's parts of Newfoundland that you could go to. There's probably a ferry that I could get to, and yeah, uh, start up on the highway and kind of tour around it, make little stops. Mostly, I would want to see St. John's, you know. I really wanted to take him with me, like him specifically, because I think he's special, and it's important that I maintain that. And you know, he was a wonderful dog, and no one got to see that in him, and he was coming along, and I feel like I let down the previous owners because he was supposed to be a rescue, although he sort of got handed off to me, but it's because he loved me that he got handed off to me, because I would walk him and take him out. I'd try to do my best to, you know, get him trained so that he would go outside, and eventually he did. He was really there, and you know, no, that's all I can say. He was an angel, and I miss him terribly, and I regret my actions of carelessness, and I'm glad that I did. You know, I mean, I did give him as much as I could. You know, like I gave him 100%. I really did. And I walked him, and I tried to figure it out, and I read books. I read a ton of books, and I was gonna read more, and I was kind of tired. I'm gonna be honest, and yeah, and I think he was happy. I think he was getting like very happy. He he was like so happy, you know, and because I think it's important to create happiness, as much happiness as you can, you know. And he was helping me with my issues, so he was helping me become happy and wonderful. And I wish I took more video of him and more pictures, and but I wasn't planning for his death. I was planning for his life. And I don't think I would have changed anything, although I would have. I knew I was going to take more pictures in my mind. You have to be careful. The streets are so complicated. It's just as easy for a bus to slide off the street right onto the sidewalk. You know, and the streets were icy and slippery that day, so there was no stopping. It was all covered. It wasn't scraped like it was today. I can't believe this happened. And it was funny because I had a nightmare about him dying and about me crying over his death, but I thought the reason was different, so I changed my mind on what I was going to do, and I thought that would solve the problem, but I don't think I understood the message very well, and it was about something else. And it's just horrible that it's the day before my mother's birthday. And I'm not sure what day his birthday was, but I think it was in January. Maybe they'll figure it out one day, and I'll be able to know. I love you, little guy. If I could bring you back, I would. For any reason, I would bring you back. You're wonderful. You're just wonderful. You're an angel. You had a heart of gold.